Welcome back to another episode of Wrenches and Wenches. This is Madman Mike coming at you. On our last video, we were replacing tail light bulb on this 07 Mustang. But on today's episode, we're going to be changing the oil on my 02 Impala. With no further ado, let's get to it. So we're gonna need a few things to do our oil change. First thing that we're gonna need this here 15mm socket. It's not completely necessary, but I like to use it. It's the 3-inch extension. Got here a ratcheting wrench, and over here we've got oil drain pan. You're gonna need that to catch all your excess oil. You're gonna need a container to pour all your old oil in. You can dispose of that at like an auto zone. You're not really supposed to throw it away just anywhere, but they'll dispose of it for you for free. You need a funnel, a shop cloth. We're gonna need some oil. Right here, what I'm doing is I've got here SAE 10W30 Castrol GTX high mileage. It's best for my car right now. Usually people do 5W30, but I'm doing 10W30 because it's been a little bit cold out, so it kind of helps the oil get, in motion when it gets colder out like that. So that's what we've got. I use this here hydraulic jack. Any hydraulic jack is gonna be best for you. For most cars, you'll be straight with a 1.5 ton, but some places, maybe you have like a 2.5 or 3 ton. 1.5 hydraulic is the fastest. Obviously, you wanna make sure to chock your wheels in the back and get your jack stands up under there. You're gonna want jack stands on both sides. Some people will tell you it's best to put the jack stands all the way in the front of the car. I prefer on the sides. That way I can just lean right up underneath. Fortunate with some cars, you can just take the oil filter out and everything right there on top. Me, I gotta go right up into the undercarriage. So with no further ado, let's get to it. All right, so we are under the car just a little bit past the bumper. We've got our oil pan right here, and this bolt right here is our 15mm bolt. We're gonna be taking that off. You already want your oil pan in place. When you take that off, all of your oil is gonna pour out. So as you're going, you kind of want a little bit of a grip like on the socket itself. So that way you can kind of reach for it, touch with your fingers and pull off the bolt and then just kind of get out of its way, let it pour out, and it's gonna empty out all on its own. Now, I got a top of the line oil filter. Last time I changed my oil, it's Mobile One. That's right in here. You could just reach in and just loosen it by hand, and then it's gonna be right here. So all you have to do is just reach in and loosen it by hand, and then you screw the new one in. It's literally that easy. You don't have to do anything else with it. This guy right here is supposed to be good for up to a year, so I'm just gonna replace it on my next oil change. It's only been there for like maybe 4 months tops, so I've been a little bit overdue for my oil change, but I'm using top of the line shit as well, so it's fine. So the first thing that you're gonna do for this oil change, so we're gonna take this bolt off, and then all of the oil will pour out. There we go. All right, I broke it. There we go. Shit's about to get real with this. It's just about to start pouring out. All right, so you're gonna end up being in some just awkward body positions when you're doing this shit, so just kind of get used to it. It's easiest to break it, kind of stay off to the side, and just loosen it by hand. And then once I let this go, oh, there we go. You want to get as much of that oil out as you can, because here's the thing, like motor oil normally is like an amber color, maybe like an IPA beer, but it takes so much of that carbon with it that's what turns it black. So when you're changing your oil, it's taking out the rest of the carbon with it, so you want to try and get out as much as you can. Kind of like the smell of motor oil. Just so you guys know, actually, you can look it up. This is actually endorsed by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. You can actually use this stuff, this old motor oil, to fertilize your grass in your front lawn. Be sure to do that. This is fun, looking at my jack stands and knowing that if they fail, we're both dead. Rah. 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 Come on, you. So now that it's pretty much all done, just gonna get that bolt on there, thread it in by hand. Ain't nothing too crazy. Get it on there nice and good. And you do not want your oil pouring out. Your car won't drive without enough oil, so twerk it down real good. There you go. Okay. So that's all nice and tight. The rest of that oil is just gonna sit there while we pour in the new shit. So for older cars, best to use high mileage. Castrol GTX high mileage. I'm using 10W30. You're gonna wanna look up the oil capacity for your car. So just type in your car and oil capacity. You just quick Google search will let you know. Mine holds 4.5 quarts. The thing about it is it extends a little bit above that top point. So what I did was I took a little bit of tape and measured that out and did that from the bottom. It's about 1 quart. So I'm pouring out to about there. Get your funnel right there and there, you got your engine oil cap right there. It's right next to your engine bank, and that comes off, and then you're ready to pour. Another thing, I don't have it with me right now, but what you're gonna want, what always helps, you'll have to math it out for yourself depending on how much your engine can hold, but DuCES oil stabilizer comes in a white bottle. It helps your oil stick to the gears and helps you avoid dry starts. Because when you put this oil in, it all tends to kind of sink to the bottom, so that kind of helps the oil stick to it, so it's already running smoothly right from the moment you start your car. I'm not too worried because I got myself some top of the line oil here, top of the line filter, so I'm not terribly worried about that. Whenever you're going to change your oil, when you take the top off, make sure that the foil seal is intact, because if it's not, then you don't know if you can trust it. Just peel that bitch off, and in it goes. And again, every once in a while you want to check the level of the oil. In the back of these, as I pointed out before, you can kind of see. We've got a little thing in the back to let you know how much oil you've already used. So yeah, I can still go pretty intense with this. If you spill any oil on the engine, it's not the end of the world. Worst case scenario, the heat when you start your car will make it smoke a little bit, but it's not like it's going to catch on fire. You're going to be okay. Very important, if anything, you want a little bit less than a little bit more. You definitely don't want to overfill it, because if you overfill it and it gets into your cylinder heads, you're going to have a big problem. You're gonna interfere with your spark plugs, and you're gonna have some serious problems going on there. I'm a little bit above my cutoff point, but I'm just gonna leave it there. It's not necessary. Completely fill it all the way to the top. Put most of the oil in, so we're gonna be just fine. We're gonna take our funnel out, and you can actually see the level of the oil in there. I don't know if you can necessarily see it, but you can see a little bit of the inner workings, a little bit of the cylinders through the hole. So you can kind of peek in there and see where that's at. The capacity for oil for your car. Different cars of different models. For example, this is a 02 Impala, and while 2000 through 2005 is more or less the same car when it comes to Impalas or mainly any Chevy vehicles from that year range, this car in particular comes with a 3600 or a 3400 engine. This is a 3400, so it's going to have a slightly different oil capacity than the 3600 because it's a smaller engine. So we want to make sure to fill it up to spec for this particular type of engine. So now that that oil is in, we didn't add any DuCES this time, but if you guys are going to be adding DuCES, then you want to see, okay, how many quarts am I adding? Then multiply that by 100, and then divide it by 5, and then take that 1/5 out of that, and then that's going to be how much oil you're adding, and then that's how much DuCES. Because you don't want to add the full amount of oil plus the DuCES is going to overfill. So 1/5 DuCES, 4/5 oil. You're doing DuCES oil stabilizer. So again, changing your oil is actually really simple. We've already drained the oil. We put the bolt back in. We tightened it down. We added our correct amount of oil. Tighten this up. Now, dipstick that we have here might still be coated with a little bit of oil and carbon. So it might be still have a little bit of that black oil from last time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that out, wipe it off. We're gonna dip it a few times and see. But more or less, this is brand new oil. It doesn't have any carbon on it, so it's gonna be a really light, clear color. So you might not be able to see it until you've driven it for a few miles first. But we're gonna take a look at that and see what's good. Again, we know that we put in that much oil, so pretty much about good to go. You're just gonna check the oil level real quick. But other than that, all you have to do is take out the drain pan, pour it into your disposal container, take it over to AutoZone, and you're good. That's it. Just take out the old oil and take my car off the jack stands, and that's it. It's good to go. So in order to check the level, you can't just pull it up. You're gonna need some shop cloths. I mean, technically you can use paper towels, but these are more durable. Got a whole roll of them over there. They're blue. They're pretty cheap. You're not gonna be breaking the bank on it. But you pull it right out of there. And it's gonna be stuck all the way to one side. That way, if all screwed up on one side, then it won't be so bad on the other. So again, you wanna wipe that old oil off, and we're gonna dip it a few times and see where it's at. So it looks like, because I tapered off a little bit before the end, I don't know if you can kind of see it there, but that's more or less where the oil stops. It's like just before full, which is perfect. You know, it gets that dot, not completely full, but it's pretty close. Definitely easily got enough oil to run the car. You know, I just didn't want to overfill it. A couple times is all you need. Again, when you put it in, it'll automatically stick all the way to one side, so that's not anything wrong with your dipstick. It's supposed to do that, so that way you can see. Put that in, and then all we got to do is just take out our drain pan, pour it into our ready-made container, and then I'm using a different container, but you could always just pour it into the old one. So a quick little thing about oil, despite what oil it may say you need on your cap, the W, when it says 5W30 or 10W30, the W stands for winter, and you're gonna want a thinner oil in colder weather, because that way it can move a little bit quicker when that liquid starts to freeze up a little bit. So 0W or 5W is gonna be better for cold weather. 10, 15, 20, you want that for the summer, helps protect your engine a little bit more. So now that we're starting to get out of winter a little bit, I'm starting to move up to 10W30 because cold isn't necessarily that much of an issue anymore. So being that they're both 30, you can combine these two, at least for right now. So I combined them so that way I can use this empty one to get rid of my old oil. I'm just gonna use this one for later oil changes, just for topping off, or if I notice that my oil level's running a little bit low, then I can just top it off with that real quick. All you gotta do at this point is just pour the old oil in here and you're good to go. You wanna be real careful about this. Oil does stain. You don't wanna stain your driveway or wherever you're doing your oil change at. So that is how you do an oil change. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit like and subscribe. This is Wrenches and Wenches. I'm Madman Mike. I'm out.